one sun lighting everyone, one world turning everyone. Yeah, I'm singing Rafi. And I was surprised to find out recently that song is from the 80s. But we just had a baby. And Rafi makes some pretty fun jams for the babies. I must say, I've never entertained it until now. My first baby, you know. Anna, my partner, used to rock the Rafi with her boy, Koa. I think before I came around, I came into Koa's life when he was 3. And I think they were past the Rafi stage, or I don't know, or I might have requested to change the channel if Rafi came on. But I'm telling you, that song is amazing. And so is Koa, who's now 9. Ooh, well, that's interesting. So let me tell you a little bit about Rafi's One Light, One Sun. And maybe before I do, since there's currently only one person here, I'll say that Koa and I were just talking about one and oneness. I just got this Castaway shirt of Chuck Noland in Jordan pose, getting ready to dunk Wilson. And if you know, you know. I teach the astrology signs through the movie Castaway. It's not the only way I teach it, but it's a fantastic model to explore the essence of 12ness. There's a couple challenges to it for me, and these are challenges I face as an astrology teacher in general, and it's something I'm very much contemplating right now because I feel very close to ready to teach astrology from the very beginning to as much as I know now. Well, somewhere close to that. Given that we will always learn and always grow should we choose to, and that is a choice, maybe, you can never really master anything, and astrology for sure. I always love to remind students who are interested in practicing astrology someday but really hung up on that they don't know enough and they'll never know enough, and they won't be able to utilize astrology as a tool to help others help themselves until they know enough. It's like, hey, get away from the city lights on a moonless night like tonight and try to name every star. You can't, you would never be able to, and astrology's not too different. One light, a billion suns, and everyone is a shining star, right? So anyway, where do we begin? So Koa and I will go through these series of talking astrology, and when I did that with him, speaking of one sun, two shades, we watched the movie Castaway together. The time he was 8 years old. I felt he was ready for it. Not so sure how his mom felt. I mean, especially fascinating that he and I watched that film while on a plane over the Pacific Ocean, returning to California from Hawaii last year. And actually in the part of the movie, and hopefully I'm not giving too much away, well, let's just say when the plane in the movie gets really, really, really shaky above the Pacific Ocean, the plane we were on had serious turbulence. And I was like, I shouldn't be showing this to him right now. But you know what? He's more equipped to handle that than I am. Like we went to roller coasters the other day, and I'm fine on roller coaster, but when we get on the swings that go way high in the sky, the sky screamer it's called, I'm not screaming at all. I am just silent, like get me down from this thing that's being held up by these tiny chains. And go just like, why are you scared, B? Are you okay? And he'll like hold my hand. Anyway, he's a very brave dude. So this morning we were talking about bravery. We're driving him to school. The sun comes up, and we were speaking about the energy of sunrise and the change from night to day. And I was describing the equality of equinox time. Fun to do that now that I'm in the darkness with you. And then we were returning to something that we've been learning together over the last year, kind of on and off, because I don't want to push it. And the other piece of the puzzle is that his father is very anti-astrology. And so it's hard for Koa because he goes from our house of 2 astrologers to his dad's house. I should be careful. I don't know that anti-astrology, like his dad will talk to him about how astrology's fake and how astrology's not astronomy and stuff like that, which is pretty tricky because it's, it's his mother's practice. But he's a bit bitter about astrology and astrologers and such, and so I shouldn't even be, I'm kind of speaking out of turn here. Let's get back to one light, one sun. All right. So anyway, Ko and I were speaking this morning about equinox time, and I was speaking with him about the scales of Libra and the scales of balance between equal light and darkness, and how as the leaves are falling from the tree, the sun will fall from the sky, and how truthfully that latter has been happening since summer solstice time of the longest day and the height of the light. And well, this brings me to one of the problems in teaching astrology and tropical astrology, right? So like the sun moving through the tropical signs offers a very significant seasonal expression. But many of my students are, have been, and will be Southern Hemisphere natives, right? And I would like for this guy to become a student of mine. I might teach him how to drive courteously. Passing on the right at an exit. Nice move, character. Maybe a little Aries Libra conversation could be nice for you too, sir. Right, okay. Yeah, so teaching the signs seasonally is a great challenge. And by the way, that's not just challenged by the seasonal opposition of Northern and Southern Hemisphere. It's challenged by the significant seasonal differences between locations in the same hemisphere. Consider the difference between the seasonal experience in London and in Honolulu, both Northern Hemisphere. I mean, Honolulu's in a sense in a special consideration since it's tropical, and the sun will go overhead in Honolulu twice a year, and it never can in London. But so let's talk about London and Los Angeles. Significantly different experiences of the seasons, both temperate Northern Hemisphere, one just much further from the equator, right? So teaching signs seasonally creates significant issues. Now, experiencing signs seasonally, I think, is very important. And while some suggest that the signs should be reversed for Southern Hemisphere natives, that in and of itself, while interesting, does not give enough credit to the significant difference between locations in the same hemisphere like London and Los Angeles, or let me just leave it there. And it also doesn't pay attention to the significant shift of the tropics. Like if you feel that Aries means spring, and therefore in places in the Southern Hemisphere like Cape Town, Aries begins, the sun through Aries would be not in March, but rather September. Well, what do you do at the equator, which is equally Northern and Southern Hemisphere? The sky works like the north, right? So, but then the great question arises is, well, if the tropical signs are not constellational, And they are certainly not. And some would suggest, therefore, they're just wrong or pure symbolic, or right. And some will say, no, they're not constellational, they're seasonal. Okay? But if they're seasonal, and if we want to teach things like Scorpio's death because it's the fixed autumn and the twigs of the trees are showing themselves as the ghost costumes trick or treat beneath and such. How's that going to work in the southern hemisphere where it's the time when the roses are, blooming? In some southern hemisphere locations, right? In others, like Antarctica, you probably can't grow roses. Right, so it's challenging. Now you can really experience your seasons locally. I was just speaking about this in constellations. How there's some astrologers who are proposing. Yeah, we might be deleting this one. We'll see. We'll give it another chance. Oh, looks like Julie's here from New Zealand. Wonderful. Greetings, sister. And Nadine is here from Baja California. It says, different everything, seasonal and otherwise. It's all about location. Yeah, which really tends to locational astrology. So anyway, some astrologers are pushing for a reverse zodiac for the southern hemisphere. Again, I present to you the challenge of tropical versus Arctic locations. That's not going to work. Some promote just a constellational zodiac. See the Ophiucan freaks. Sorry. Some promote sidereal zodiacs, but you don't really have that issue. But I'm very much a tropical astrologer. I'm a deep believer in the tropical zodiac. I have found that it's not seasonal, but it's something. So if it's not constellational and it's not seasonal, then what is it? One light, one sun warming everyone. And the truth is, it's about one world turning everyone. Yeah, I've been listening to Rafi. That's a great song. Check out One Sun, One Light. Or I think it's called One Light, One Sun by Rafi. It's a really cool song. I'll say a little bit more about it before I'm done if the internet connection on this drive allows me to. Wait, we were talking about one. So you're on one Earth. And the relationship between that one Earth and that one sun builds the zodiac. It's all about the relationship between the planes of Earth's daily motion, our daily rotation. The primary motion in that plane is called the equator. And then the plane of our secondary motion, which is our orbital annular motion, and that plane is called the ecliptic. The equator and the ecliptic, they intersect at the equinox points, and they most diverge. Points of greatest declination, most north at 0 Cancer, and most south at 0 Capricorn, 0 Cancer, above Earth's Tropic of Cancer. And it's the place that we all share. There's two ways home. To one destination. The other one has better internet, but this one has more trees. So trees. So anyway, one of the great problems of teaching astrology, because I'm very sign-based, but I'm also very house-based, and I'm very aspect-based, and much more than that, and I want to teach all of these things, including dispositorship. Much of this I really love to teach the astronomy, the measurable, experiential side. And as I was just saying, Theo Naker is kind of leading this charge. There's not too many on the team of reversing the signs for the southern hemisphere. There's other great astrologers, two of whom I know who were both born in the southern hemisphere, one Maurice Fernandez and the other Yulia Simas, who are doing a lot of really wonderful play about describing the just kind of flipped seasonal experience of a sign. Like one of my favorites that they're talking about is Cancer as the sign that begins with winter solstice in New Zealand. And doesn't that make so much sense? Because Cancer is about getting your cozy on it, being under your blankie. And nice, you're right, cuddling up, which like it's like more interesting in the winter than the summer. So I'm gonna leave that there, but I invite you to go play, and wherever you are, tune into your own seasonal experience. And I just want to honor that it's got to be very difficult for Southern Hemisphere natives who are hearing a lot of Northern Hemisphere teachings around the tropical signs, right? And I don't want to be that guy, but also as I'm teaching Koa, like I want to teach him here. I do, not consistently, but I do sometimes insert the disclaimer of, hey, by the way, buddy, when we're ready, we're going to look at this thing a little bit more globally. But right now, like, let's look around. Like, let's at least let him really experience the changing of the seasons and that kind of slower experience, right? And then we'll start then speaking about the days and the houses and the hours. Like, we're doing both. All right, so then this is the next kind of most difficult and challenging thing, is I'm dreaming into the way I want to teach astrology from the beginning. In such a way, by the way, that will apply to people who are brand new to astrology and people who have been studying astrology for a long time. One is, again, releasing the tropical signs from seasonal definition, while also inviting the experience of local seasonal expression. The other is signs and houses are not the same thing. And a great illness of modern astrology is the conflation of these two systems of 12ness. And you know how that looks, that Aries is the first sign and Taurus is the second and Gemini is the third. And Leo is the fifth, and therefore the sun is the natural ruler of jobs to ask, why the hell would the sun want nighttime? And if that question doesn't make sense to you after the other things did, then I invite you to study in the School of Earth Astrology and to tune into the traditional truth that the sun rejoices in the 9th, which is midday and the most solar sunburn hour. So, however, when I teach the archetypes through the great astrological film called Castaway, I probably will conflate the signs and the houses in that way. And there is actually an earthstronomical reason why, from a global perspective, not from an individual perspective, like you were born individually on the surface of Earth with a rising sign. However, from the center of the Earth, where we are all one, and where we measure the planets in the signs from, Aries is the first sign. Why do I say that? Because the Pisces-Aries cusp of the tropical zodiac, which is above Earth's equator, it is due east. Not of LA or of New York or of Timbuktu, but the center of Earth, where you are me and I am you, and we are all in the world turn. Make it difficult for me to not launch into the teachings just right away. How to teach the tropical zodiac. By the way, I will also teach constellational, sidereal, the difference between, but I'm a tropical astrologer and I will promote tropical astrology because it really works, and it is the zodiac of Earth and is the school of Earth astrology, right? So how to help folks tune into the astrology signs of the tropical zodiac without teaching that solely seasonally, and then also how to prevent people from getting stuck in the idea that signs and houses are the same thing, while also starting simply enough for people to get it. And the nice thing about conflating signs and houses is it creates a really simple system of 12ness, and there's some archetypal reality to it. Hey, Emmy, long time. Nice to see you here. Happy October to you as well. October, the 8th, 10th month of the what? All right. Anyway, Koa and I this morning were talking about Libra. We were talking about Aries. I was telling about this shirt, right? So we get here Chuck Nolan from Castaway in Air Jordan pose dunking Wilson. And he and I were speaking about Wilson as this kind of necessary Libra archetype, that we need others, that we need somebody to speak with. I was sharing with Koa about if we're not sharing equally, it's not Libra. If I'm just teaching him these things, it's more Capricorn. If I'm like, parenting, it's more Cancer. If I'm bossing, it's a little more Capricorn, no offense. That when I'm inviting him to brush his own teeth and kind of be the Aries, I'm kind of trying to partner up with him. When we brush our teeth together, we're doing Libra. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we're having these kinds of conversations. I'm trying to make it real life. I mean, for me, astrology's worth it if it's not going to help us in this real world we call Earth. All right, I have my own lane here. 2 cars, 2 lanes, 2 cars driving side by side. Is that Libra? No. It's 2 Aries. Is it possible to have 2 Aries? Not in the same room. Anyway, so we're having some really fun conversations. I'm trying to bring it like, hey man, if you just choose to just run down the whole court and dunk the ball, that's called traveling. If you choose to dribble down the whole court and dunk the ball yourself, that's called Aries. If you choose to start that and draw all of the defenders to you, and then you pass the ball and somebody shoots the 3, that's called Libra. And he says, well, then I'm Aries because I'm going to go dunk. And I was like, wait till the defenders get better. And interestingly, it's like team sports create really fantastic models to start exploring number magic in different ways, like outside of just me and the world. The me-verse, the we-verse, the you and I-verse. Another song I invite you to check out as soon as this stream ends. Go check out The One Song by Entheo. Entheo. You're welcome. An amazing, amazing song, that one. So that song probably will become part of the curriculum, and probably Rafi's One Light, One Sun as well. Because for me, actually, before we start talking about signs or talking about houses, there's a good question, a good riddle really for each. Why do we have 12 signs? Why do we have 12 houses? Why did we find ancient systems in Babylon, Egypt, and China that decided there were 12 hours in a day and 12 hours in a night? Now, the day is not arbitrary. People will say time is just this illusion. Fine, conceptually, philosophically, from a place of oneness, perhaps, but once you incarnate into one thee, one ray, from the one into one thee, you're here on a world that spins. One world turning, one world turning everyone. But turning you in a different way than it's turning me right now, because Emmy, you're in Germany. And I am in California. And we're talking about, well, at least evening and morning. And for some of you, New Zealand, is the sun even up tomorrow yet? I believe it is. Anyway, cross the date line. So, the day is in no way arbitrary. Now, there are differences between the sidereal day, the tropical day. Not every day is the same length, which becomes a really interesting consideration in the current time system that the world is using, whether you know about it or not. We actually have a system of leap seconds that supposedly is going away in the 2030s. This isn't the time for that conversation, but I have been playing with the charts of when the current time convention began, which is a fascinating study in and of itself. Day, not arbitrary, real real time. The year, the same can be said. Months get a little bit more interesting. Months versus sunths. It's a very interesting thing to study in the School of Astrology. That will also be a necessity, because we really want to honor the planet that we have incarnated upon. But how to mix these things up in such a way that you don't get bored by the science of the thing as we're exploring the sacred, you know? That's part of the challenge of creating curriculum, because in my school, it will be designed around the quadrivium, the 4 sacred sciences of astronomy, which is number in time and space, and the things of which it is composed. Geometry, number in space. Harmony, number in time. And what they called once arithmetic, though I don't think the word does a good enough job anymore to describe what number itself is all about. So, fun conversation Co and I had today, as well, as we were talking about Aries and Libra and equinox and balance, and kind of the seasonal expression of the sun's movement through the signs. Is then I asked him, hey, what is one about? I was like, what do you mean? It's like, tell me about the energy of one. It's like, what? And we've been doing math a lot. Well, he's been doing math, and so we have math homework at night. You know, it's like today it was the 7s, right? So, all right, hey, Koa, what's 7 times 12? And he says 84. And I say, how many Earth years in a Uranus year? He's like, what? I don't know. We haven't learned that. And I say 84. Right? So we get to introduce little bits. 7 and 12, very important in astrology, friends. 12 signs, 7 planetas, for which the 7 days of the week are named. 7-day week, arbitrary. 12 hours in a day, arbitrary. Okay, so why 12 hours? Why 12 houses? Why 12 signs? And the answer might live right here in the human design of these 12 paths that we can touch with our thumb. And their sets of 3 4s and 4 3s. Welcome to polarity and triplicity and quadruplicity. It might be in 12 moons a year, but there's not. Depending on how you're mooning, it's either 13.37 or 12.37. Neither are 12. So that's a very tricky thing. And there's just something about, especially when we study within the different sister sciences of geometry and harmony, where you just really get to understand that creation creates in 12s. And so I feel that at the beginning, even before I teach signs or houses, I'm going to be teaching number. Answering the question, we were talking about the universe and uni, right? And I was singing to him Entheo, the you-verse, the we-verse, the you and I verse, and how he's the center of his universe and I'm the center of mine, and how that's okay, right? But then we were speaking about how the universe is all things. And I spoke a little bit about the idea of the multiverse and how ridiculous it is to think that there are many universes, because there can only be one universe. That's the point of the universe. That doesn't mean like the multiverse thing can't exist. Just understand that that's all within the universe. See what I'm saying? So we were talking about what it is to be one thee, like one individual incarnated being, and then we were talking about what it is to be part of everything, which is a very different image of one. Oneness, the one, versus one thee, right? And it's fun with a 9-year-old to be able to get deep like this. And as he's learning number in school, of course, even though he's at a Steiner-based school, and Steiner, one of the greatest modern mystics known, you know, his Waldorf school, it's not like they're doing it probably a Steiner would have them do, especially in California. Leave that aside. But either way, like, who in their training, when you were introduced to 1, before you learned 1 + 1 is 2, were any of you encouraged to contemplate oneness? And which one is 1? Is it 1 or is it everything? Or wait, isn't everything 1? You see the challenge there? And we want to be in that space. And so, without making it boring for folks, I want to help you understand just very clearly, at least with the compass in your hand, why 12? And it's so clear, and then you get to see why the image that many of us these days call the seed of life is found all over the world. And so as I'm kind of dreaming into curriculum, it's like, all right, we definitely begin with sacred geometry and number magic 1. Now, to study harmonic astrology, there will be a necessary number magic 2. Or it might be number magic 3. I'm not so sure yet. And there'll be parts of the school that are necessary if you want to become a practicing astrologer, and other parts that are not, unless you want to like add on to how you astrologize. Like there'll be a numerology jam. And so numerology is very interesting because, you know, does it work with astrology? Because most of us in numerology, and certainly not all, right? Like there are great systems of gematria and other places where we can expand into hundreds and thousands. But many are using what they call a Pythagorean numerology, although it's hard to say whether or not Pythagoras was using Pythagorean numerology. That's really based upon base 10 numbers, and really more than anything 1 to 9, and then 1 to 9 again. Like 10 is a 1 because you just take the 1 and 0 of 10 and you add them into 1 plus 1. Of the reasons why I loved our house is it's 3684 May Road. Now May, of course, the sign when Gemini begins, also named after Maya, one of the Pleiades, who my daughter is named for, but we didn't know about that then. But 3684, well, 36 is a 9, 3 plus 6 equals 9, and 84 is a 12, 8 plus 4 is a 12. But that 12 is a 3, and then the 9 and the 3 make 12, which is a 3. Now, if you haven't explored number in this way, and it's sad that we don't in school because it opens up a whole other kind of space of number magic, or at least like, I don't know, math magic, then that just sounds crazy, right? But like in my Sacred Geometry Number Magic 1 class, and that's going to start soon. And I'll plan to like offer these things, like folks can just take that if they want, or they can take that as part of the curriculum. But we'll be studying hubcaps together, which is a great way to explore number. Some 5 caps do 10, some really just do 5. Like it's a really, and then studying license plates. Like you can walk around, if there's cars where you live and addresses, and really get to play with deep numerology. Now in Sacred Geometry 1, hubcaps, but not the so-called numerology. That's kind of a different, like, elective thing. I find it fascinating. I'm definitely no master in it. It's one of the other challenges I have as a teacher is I'm very resistant to the idea that this is one and one only way to do a thing. And I think most of my students feel the same way, and probably even appreciate that I'm not trying to promote some dogmatic, this is the way and the only way. But I think it can also be frustrating if a teacher's not willing to commit to a particular approach. And I'm realizing, like, kind of the last time I set out to do this, I wasn't committed enough, and that can be challenging for the student. Yeah. All right. So Numerology, however, I think can be very helpful when you want to study more of a symbolic approach to number. And when we get into places like harmonics, it can be really helpful, and just in general in astrology, which is so much more than some symbolic language alone. It is the poetic breath of nature, but it is also a symbolic language, right? And so it's really helpful to open up symbolic vision, and working with systems like number magic and numerology can be incredibly helpful, especially because it offers the opportunity to break away from a paradigm through which we were kind of programmed. And that's kind of necessary if we want to start experiencing life archetypally. And I think until we're doing that, it's very hard to synthesize charts, for example. That's, my opinion, but it's also something that I encourage students. And for me to encourage that for students, I need to present them with curriculum that will give them the opportunity of personal initiation and expansion. Like, I can't do that for a student, right? But I can show them the door. All right. So this is like what I've been tripping on lately. I'm going to say I'm also tripping about tomorrow's annular Ring of Fire solar eclipse in Libra. I've been wondering if that is participating with the terrors that are happening currently around the world, some through war, some through, so-called natural disaster, and my heart goes out to so many right now. I'm interested in this dock workers strike that is happening right now, basically starting at this time of a Libra solar eclipse with Lilith square Mars. I'm very interested in exploring that, and I will be doing that on my Storytelling Hour tomorrow at 11:11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll look into the shadow light of the Libra eclipse, and we'll have the opportunity there to speak about two-ness, as we should with Libra and with Sun and Moon. And then in constellations this weekend, we'll be exploring that same eclipse through the 12 maps. So how does it express for Libra versus Scorpio, etc.? And we'll be doing that in community, because one world turning is more interesting when we're holding hands and sharing hearts and minds. So I want to again encourage you to check out this song by Rafi, One World, One Light. Here's a wonderful thing, is he begins on the 2. It's like 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, one light, right? So he comes in on the 2, and he ends the phrase on the 2 of the 8th bar. When we're playing in 4 like that, which almost all songs are, but not all songs, like you have the waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We can play in 6, we can play in 13, but most songs are in 4 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually when we're playing in 4, and this really drops deep into number magic and the understanding of 4-ness and more, like we'll do phrases that are also based in 4s and squares, right? So a very common, the most common song form will have 8 bars of 4, or 16, or 32, which are really just different kind of sums of 8 bars of 4. What Rafi does in that song, which is amazing, is not only does he come in on the 2 with the word 1, which is so great. And that cat, actually, the more I'm listening to his music, he seems hip enough to very much felt into that and not just do this for the feel of the music alone, but to the expression of the number magic. And I love that, you know, we're like, the kids are hearing it, right? So he comes in on the 2 with 1 light. And then he ends, let's see if I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 light, 1 sun, 1 sun lighting everyone. 2, 3, 4. 1 world turning, 1 world turning everyone. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 hope, something like that, right? So so he goes 1 light, 1 sun. 1 sun lighting everyone. That's, you know, it's 8 bars. 1 light, 1 sun, 1 sun lighting everyone. 2, 3, 4, right? That's 8 bars. 8 bars of 4. So 32 beats, right? Maybe it's 4. Let's do that again. 1, wait, it comes in on the 2, right? 1 light, wait, how can I do this on the 1? 1 light, 1 sun, 1 sun warming everyone. 4 bars. He says one sun lighting everyone, because that's 4 bars. And then 1 world, and on that one, he sings it on the 1. So let's do that together. Let's see. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Because it's going to be it's 8-bar phrase, but then you're going to see a really amazing thing. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 light, 1 sun, 1 sun lighting everyone. 1 world turning, 1 world turning everyone. He ends on the 1. 1 more bar. 1 hope. Okay, so what he does is it's 9 bars of 4. And I hadn't considered this yet, but he starts on the 2 with the word 1. And at least in the first one where he goes 1 world turning every one, right? The last syllable of the lyrics is also 1, every one. Right? Which is everyone is, you know, all of the ones to make 1, which is just genius. All right. And maybe I'm taking this too far, but probably not far enough. And, you know, I'll just do another video on Rafi's 1 light. But so he starts with the word 1 on the 2, the next time on the 1, and then the phrase ends with the word 1 on the 1 of the 8th bar, and then he has 1 extra bar. So I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 sun. No, wait. 1. Wait, what is it? 1 light, 1 sun. Okay. 1 light. 1. All right. 3, 4. 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 light, 1 sun, 1 sun lighting everyone. 1 world turning, 1 world turning everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 hope, 1 dream. I can't remember the lyrics there, but it's a similar phrase. So the really amazing thing here rhythmically is not only does the first time he uses the word 1, it's on the 2 of the first bar, but then from then on he says 1 a few more times and it's always on the 1, and the phrase ends on the 1 of the 8th bar. And it's very common to have 8 bars of 4, right? 32 beats. And by the way, when we get into harmonics, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, the doubling sequence, the octave sequence is crucial. But he has 9 bars. And it's like, because the phrase ends on the 1 of the 8th bar, 1 world It's turning, one world turning everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. One hope, one dream, or wherever he goes from there. So it feels like you have 2 bars of rest between the phrases, which is pretty common, right? So we have some space to breathe. But it's not 2 bars, it's 7 beats, because every one, that one is on the first bar of the 8th bar, and then there's a whole bar, which is the 9th. And so he ends up doing 9 bars of 4. And I'm sure I know some, but I don't know of any other songs that do 9 bars of 4. Now, amazing thing is 9 bars of 4 is 36 beats. All right, well, what's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8? And the answer is 36, which is why 9 is everything. And there's another reason why 9 is no things. And that's a tale for another time. And thanks for playing with me, friends, on this one world turning. See you in space. I hope to see you at Storytelling Hour tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific time, as it is every Wednesday, Miércoles, where I will be journeying to the heart of the sun, through the heart of the moon with you. Time to talk Libra, solar eclipse, the ring of fire.